good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome to this Wednesday Fleet Forum webinar. I'm very happy to see all of you. I understood that there was a little bit of confusion because here in Europe, where I am, we have changed over the weekend to daylight saving time. And that means that some of you were already waiting for an hour, and I do apologize for that, but I also think it is very cool that you stayed on. Just like we always do, can somebody just let me know whether my audio is good, that you can hear me, so we do a little bit of a check on the audio. That would be great. Let me see. I see loud and clear, so we like to hear that. Before I hand over to our presenter of today, we have a new, now it is already a little bit old, but we are trying out some new things at Fleet Forum, and one of that is a translated caption. So if you are not comfortable in English, if you wish to follow the webinar in a different language, then you can do so by clicking on the link that I placed in the chat, and the link is also pinned at the top. I have to see if it is working. Let me see quickly. Yes, I think it is. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our presenter of today, Joseph Akainetti. He works for Van Vliet PK Trucks, based in Ghana. He's the commercial and operational manager. And today he will talk to us about key factors influencing vehicle, equipment, or truck procurement. Feel free to use the chat for your questions, but also to, maybe your comments, to tell you where you're from, because we always like to hear that. I'm going to hand over to Joseph, and I will be back in 20 minutes from now, because then we have some time for Q&A. Okay, so enjoy. Over to Joseph.
Hello, and good afternoon or good day to you all. It's always a pleasure to make a presentation or be part of the Fleet Forum presenting group. And today we're looking at key factors influencing vehicle, equipment, or truck procurement. It can either go wrong or can either go very well, and you can get a very good cost benefit out of it when it is done properly. But if it's not done well, then there's a lot of disaster that follows it. But I put together a few salient key points that in the decision-making process of procuring or asset replacements, which you need to consider. So as a way of introduction, several factors influence the decision-making process when deciding to purchase a new vehicle, equipment, or truck. Most of these factors are very key in the process. Doing it right is the first step to success. So there are some key factors that vary depending on the needs of the organization or individual business person, but they mainly include the first one being cost and budget, because the first consideration is the cost of the vehicle or equipment. Purchase price is very important in the decision-making process, because if that hurdle is taken over, is overcome, and the purchase price is good, then the next thing to look at is the total cost of ownership. That is the overall running cost. That includes fuel costs, maintenance costs, servicing and repair, insurance, driver costs, and training and depreciation over time. So all these components come into the topic of total cost of ownership, where all these play a key role in the decision-making process. Is it an equipment that when we buy, it will take a long time a lot of costs will come in the area of maintenance? Are we going to incur a lot of costs in the area of fuel? Is it fuel efficient? Are we going to incur a lot of driver costs, because then if they are not driving well, we have to invest in training and the depreciation over the time as well. The next thing is also the financing cost and the cost and budget. This equipment that we want to purchase, do we want to purchase it under, are there options for leasing? Are there options for loans with good interest rates? or are there installment payment plans also with the minimal interest rates? So this is the key factor to look at as a first step, which is cost and budget. The next to look at is the engine performance and specification. So engine power and efficiency is the engine able or suitable for the performance needs of the intended use, hauling of heavy loads, relief supplies to remote areas, off-road capabilities. Are they able to withstand the terrain? Fuel efficiency. How economical, fuel efficient is the vehicle or equipment? Load capacity or size. For trucks, the payload capacity are critical. And then are they durable and reliable that it can be robust and have a reliable performance on record? We then need to also look at technology and features, which is very important lately in the area of digitization. Are there advanced safety systems such as anti-spin regulator, adaptive cruise control? Is there ABS available? Are there airbags for driver safety in the event of an accident? Do we have lane departure warning systems that in the event that the driver is tired or tries to micro sleep and goes off, it can be alerted? Are there collision avoidance systems also as part of the safety features in the decision-making process? Technology integration. Do we have common systems such as telematics to be able to track and monitor the performance and usage of the equipment? Are there GPS available that we can remotely locate the equipment at in any part of the world and be able to monitor the performance and operational usage? Driver assistance systems, like the other things that makes driver assistance safe and comfortable? Does he have other switches and controls that will aid in his driving and driving economically and efficiently? And is there connectivity for fleet management systems? Because most organizations have devices that they use in communicating and tracking and monitoring the fleet system, such as other softwares that are produced by third parties. Are they able to connect into the equipment that you are going to purchase, that you know that you can be able to, from anywhere in the world, be able to connect into the fleet management system and have a daily record of the activity of the vehicle, even not being by the vehicle, you can remotely see all these things. We then also need to make a decision in the area of the compliance and with regulations. Emission standards for trucks and heavy equipment. We need to ensure that they are compliant with local or national emission standards and regulations. Are there specific regulations on emission standards such as Euro 5 and above? In some parts of the world, they are all trying to sign up to the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and ensuring that emissions are reduced or being brought to the minimum, and alternative renewable energy are used to keep the environment and the earth clean. Do we have safety regulations ensuring that the equipment or vehicle complies with all the relevant safety regulations and road safety standards that are in the country? Every country have their own unique road safety regulations and safety standards. In some countries, there are a couple series of them, such as speed limits, driving time, driving hours, that you can't flout some of these laws. We need to also look at brand reputation and after sales. There are some brands they don't sell. There are some brands that they have been trusted, tested, and tried over the years, and they've now built a name for itself. Some of such brands are like Iveco, MAN, and the other very reliable units. They are much reliable. They are known for their quality, and the trust in the brand is based in the area of reliability, ease of use, and past experiences. There are some brands, they really give you value for money. So when you're making a decision, these are some of the things you also need to look at. Then you also need to look at warranty. Do we have a comprehensive, or does the brand you are trying to purchase or procure have a comprehensive and responsive warranty system or package? Do they have after-sales support, availability of spare parts, service centers? Are they able to train your drivers or operators and mechanics that they can be able to drive efficiently and be able to look after the equipment in a very cost-effective way? And then is there technical support that in the event that is beyond your team, they are readily available to offer the needed support and assistance? You also need to look at resale value, depreciation rate, the expected decline in the value of the vehicle or equipment over time. Is it within a short period you have your equipment depreciating, or is it equipment that can last, repay its investment, and still generate additional revenue or income for your operations, that at the end of the day, it has a very graduated and prolonged depreciation rate? Is there a demand on the market that it has a value after the period for the usage? You still can bring it back into the market and sell and make a very substantial good money out of reselling it. Does it meet the intended use? Application-specific requirements. Are the vehicle equipment fit for the specific job requirements? Long haul, construction, mining, agriculture, relief item distribution, support for peacekeeping and other operations. Is the terrain or climate conditions suitable for the vehicle to operate? The rough, in either rough or remote terrain, extreme heat or cold, you need to consider also this in the decision-making process. Environmental impact, sustainability, whether the vehicle or equipment aligns with the organization's goals for reducing carbon footprints and environmental impacts. Most of organizations lately have been signing up to SDG goals. They are also signing up to environmental sustainable transport policies. Are there organizational goals that align with the vehicle you want to purchase? If you take an area like emission standard, if you take a new truck, in some parts of the world, you can't take a new truck with a Euro 5, a Euro 2 into the terrain. It doesn't meet the regulations. And even the organizational goal doesn't support it. So in some parts of the world, gradually, I would say in Ghana, it's gradually becoming most policy with organization, and the government is trying to even initiate and drive this towards sustainable transport by ensuring that equipment that come in are gradually being subjected to standards and inspections to be sure that we gradually move away from high sulfur content fuel to low sulfur content fuel, and even alternative renewable energy. There are some cars in some organizations riding around in Ghana having solar powered. Some are also having electrically being powered. So these are things that you need to look at, that it doesn't make a negative impact in the environment. Are there options for alternative fuels? There are some trucks equipment with hybrid systems, interest in electric, hybrid, or alternative fuels for reduced emissions. These are things that we need to consider. But in considering, it should be something that the organization, one, has signed up for or has a goal in ensuring that they reduce the carbon footprint, because the carbon footprint reduction is key in sustainable transport. So it's very important. Are there policies by even the governments that they support this one? Because I saw recently in East Africa, Kenya is making inroads in ensuring that they move towards electric mobility, and it is gradually trying to bring up policies and urging organizations to sign up towards that one. So that looks quite a good example as well. Though it is still not, it's still in the early stages. It's a challenge because infrastructure-wise, you don't have a lot of support or governmental support in investing in infrastructure for sustainable transport towards e-mobility, and it's really a difficult thing, even with taxes and other charges that come on the use of such, though it is claimed as green reducing carbon, something that will reduce the carbon footprint. So it works both ways. Organizations will have their goals, but also governments also needs to support. But it is very important in the decision-making process for equipment or asset replacement that the environmental impact should be very minimal at the early stages if the infrastructures are not in place to support such. Then we need to, the next thing to look at is the availability. Are we able to meet the delivery timeline? Because the time frame for procuring, especially, is very limited when there's an emergency or an urgent need for it. Stock availability, do we have the vehicles available, readily available, or requires custom ordering? You have an example I will use is our company, PK Trucks, Van Vliet. We have a lot of units on stock, and we are always readily available. Stock availability is number one, and then delivery time also is number one. We always ensure that we have stock enough that will be able to meet the requirements of our customers. And if the delivery time and stock availability are not at the optimum, then it stalls the decision-making process, because you need to make sure the time of investment decision-making for asset replacement, there's always the key factor, cost, and also availability, which plays a very important role. And I would like to say on this note, it's good to share these key points with you. It is not limited to just these key points, but at least try to bear in mind that this is a guide. With these guides, you are able to holistically make a decision regarding investing in new equipment or a vehicle. And on this note, I would like to say thank you very much. And it's been a very wonderful session. There's time for questions, and I'm available to answer. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. Well, we do have some time for questions. So now, if you have not done it yet, you can either pop your question in the chat, or you can write them in the Q&A. We will pick them up. So we do already have a question from Bo, and he's asking, is local regulation or legislation supporting or incentivizing more sustainable transport solutions in Ghana? So is the government already promoting sustainable transport?
Yes, there's been a drive since there was an exhibition we attended this year, and we got quite impressive responses from most of the exhibitors, and even the people who came by to the forum. It's really about, the government is in full support of moving towards sustainable transport and reducing the carbon footprints. So there are governmental policies in place, and infrastructure-wise is what is currently being looked at, especially in the area of e-mobility, where mainly it is starting with the very passenger cars. Some organizations are trying to sign up to claim carbon credits by bringing in e-vehicles, but then they have limitations in the area of operation. So they need to invest extra, which government is trying to find tax waivers for the investment of infrastructure to support the electric e-mobility and sustainable transport in Ghana.
Okay. Thanks, Joseph. And I think that, like you mentioned, that's what we see now in other countries in sub-Saharan Africa as well, right? You mentioned Kenya. I also know that in Ethiopia, the government is putting regulations in place or policies in place to encourage organizations to switch to transport or mobility solutions with less impact on the environment. There's another question that is in relation to vehicle emissions. From your experience, is emission data readily available in sub-Saharan African markets, so for cars and trucks? Or is that still sort of a new territory to explore?
I would say it's not really available, honestly. We recently did a survey or a project. We have another company called GT Leasing and Finance that finances projects in around the world, and we are customers. But they needed to do an emission. They wanted emission data, was not available. So the team have to come down with their equipment to do some of the emission sampling across some locations in the country, and even to get the data from the driver and vehicle licensing authority. It's a whole hustle. It's
Yeah.
really a new territory that is being looked at by some companies that have set up here to go around and capture data and invest in data banks so that this can be easily accessible in the near future.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Thanks. We've got a question from Ernest, who is asking if there are hybrid trucks now available. Is that the case?
For now, I think I know there's development ongoing towards that, because if you take at the recent fair, we notice there's even hydrogen trucks available now that drive solely on hydrogen. There's electric, so I believe in the near future they will come to the point of having a hybrid.
Okay.
But for
Okay.
now, I don't have any information on that yet. I will
Okay.
research, but for now, not yet.
Okay. Okay. So, and we see that people are also responding to each other's questions. So that is good. Maybe a question from my side, because I thought it was interesting to when you said, okay, we need to look at sustainability, right? I know that for many organizations, and I recognize some of the colleagues on the webinar today, how we have to deal, or how we should deal with fleet waste, right? Oil filters and all that sort of tires and all that nice stuff. That is a challenge. Do you have any recommendations how you can, when you start procuring an asset, a vehicle, a truck, knowing that you will get waste from that asset, what are your tips? How could you include that in your decision-making process? Do you have any thoughts on that?
The first thing I would say is for especially in our operations here, we deal with waste, e-waste, electric, transportation waste like filters, dirty oil and stuff. But there's environmental protection agency that have standardized and approved companies that are in recycling in Ghana here.
Yeah.
So we always work with these companies in taking our the waste materials there. In the past, it used to be all around the place, but now there's control in ensuring that waste are handled in the right places. So in the investment, in the decision-making process, it's just the company to ensure, organization to ensure that there are the approved or authorized agencies that would deal with their waste, and then
Yeah.
they make contacts with them that they always would come in on a regular routine basis to take away this waste to recycle. Some
Yeah.
can be used as flower pots. I've seen in the customer office where the waste ties, they cut them out and then they fill in with how do you call it, with soil, and then they have all these nice flowers
Yeah.
in the compound. So
Yeah.
they turning their waste into this, but there are other options which always deal with the standardized organizations in the
Yeah.
decision-making process.
Yeah, but the key tip is that in when you start thinking about well, putting your requirements on paper, when you procure an asset, when you procure a truck or a vehicle, to already think about that, right? And not do it as an
Yes.
afterthought, but already at the start think about,
Start.
okay,
Yes. Yes.
what to
How am
do
I going to
with.
treat?
Yes, yeah. And how can the supplier help me to dispose of the fleet waste in a sustainable way? That is, I think,
Exactly.
your key message.
Yes.
Let me see. I see some questions, but they are not really related to procurement. Oh, and I see another one in the Q&A. Let me check. Oh, from Simon, writing a specification can be tricky without being too precise on details and therefore constraining potential bidders with designs or models. Do you have any tips on keeping the requirements broad and widening the offers that the market could make?
I would say in the first place, when the organizations are making a decision like that, I would say 90% of them already have fleets in their operations. And
Mm-hmm.
from history, you could see which of the fleet or the brands are performing and giving you value for money, and the ones that are not performing well. So already there's already your own internal data. Besides that one, you could also see and have an overview on the market and
Oh, Joseph, we
hello,
lost your. Yeah, I think you're back.
hello?
We lost you for a
Yeah.
second.
So I'm saying that you could also look at the population of certain brands, unique brands that have sold themselves the names over the years in across the world or across the countries. Especially if you take Ghana, for example, in here you have the MAN, you have Iveco, and the other brands which are performing well. And you will always see them with multinational companies that always keep refurbishing these units to us up to after so many years that they reinvest by bringing in the same new models or higher versions of those
Mm,
units. So it's always advisable. But if the 10% who are starting from the beginning, scratch, you need to also consult. That's why we have webinars like this. You need to consult with other people within that industry and
mm,
build data and get references. So then you know exactly where to invest. That you don't just go and invest into brands that would give you problems after 6 months or
mm.
within one
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. And I think it's also fair what Simon was referring to, that sometimes we have the habit of even though we need to put down our requirements and not sort of describing what we want, right? But we need to sort of say, okay, well, these are the requirements. This is what I want the vehicle to do.
To
This
do.
is what I need it
Yes.
for,
Yeah.
instead of writing it so that we get the vehicle of our preference. And I think that's where
Yes.
we need to find a balance between that and
Yes.
really work from the requirements. I think we have
Yes. And
time
and
for.
one to add
Yeah.
to it, to 1 second, to add to it, what we do at PK Trucks and Van Vliet is we don't just sell the trucks, but we sell the solution.
Mm,
So we give you a truck, we give you a training for the driver to optimally use the equipment. We give you the genuine spare parts and also follow up on the regular consultations and visits to know how the equipment are performing. So we are always
mm,
in your transportation journey, we are part
mm.
of your transportation journey, that it solves a problem for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Joseph. So, one of the key decision criteria that you mentioned was about buying or leasing. So, w- how could what are the sort of the underlying factors that organizations can use how to decide between buying or leasing, or even use transportation as a service from a provider that owns the asset? And that is a question from Rana.
Yeah, it's on the leasing side or on the financing option side. There are every country specific. There are some companies that are into leasing. they have the requirements, and then they have the interest rate and the calculations spelled out, depending on the value of the asset. So
Mm,
based on the value of the asset and then the tenure of the asset,
yeah.
how long you want to use it, all play a key role in when they put in these parameters can generate your monthly repayment. And then you need to consider and see if it is something worth going to that option, that it will not tie you up capitally, financially, but you have
Yeah.
some leverage and space to move and know you can freely operate with a leasing company. Then that is a choice you make, a decision you make.
Yeah.
You look at the options on the
Yeah.
table. So you can spread your options around leasing, loan, installment payment, or outright purchase.
Yeah.
Then you look at which one serves your needs in saving
Yeah.
you money at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Simply said, if you buy, you know that you have to put all the money on the table at the start, right? And if you lease, you can spread it out.
But
That sort
yes,
of, but it also depends on, I think, on how often do you need it, right? If you need
yeah,
equipment only shortly, that yeah, then leasing, loaning is might be a better option than just buying it just
investment
for the sake
outright.
of buying it. Cool.
Yeah,
I see we have more questions, but we run out of time. So this sort of tells me that this is a topic that the Fleet Phone community is interested in. And we will definitely organize a similar webinar around, well, all the things that we need to take into account when we decide to go for procurement. Because I think there's many more angles that we can take it from, either from the financial, but also from the environmental, and
exactly.
also from how do you work with your procurement colleagues to make sure that you run the best, well, the best tender
Mhm.
or the best purchase process
Yeah, decision.
ever. So,
Yeah,
Joseph, thanks a lot. Hope to see you again next time for
yeah.
another webinar. And
Always
for
available. Always available.
okay, super. And for all of you
Thanks, man.
in the webinar, thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.